What is up, fight fans? We got episode 24, Kobe episode. I'm here with my
Good for
boy
Kobe.
Jose. Um,
RIP GG. RIP Kobe.
here after UFC 292, the Suga Show.
Yes, sir.
We're here to talk about just recap UFC 292, and then we're gonna go over UFC Fight Night, Holloway versus Korean Zombie in Singapore. The fight card that should have been Jean Willie versus Yan Shonan, but it is what it is. Uh, and we're gonna start here in the prelims. We got Korean Silva versus Mariana Moros. Korean Silva, able to get the submission win over here, win over her, able to beat her on the feet as well. She was, dominant on the feet and then able to get the guillotine to finish the fight.
Yeah, man. She lost to Marina Moros as well in another promotion, but she fought really good here, man. She looked really good the whole time. The way she set up, the takedown, right? She had hurt her before with the left hand. It was a good finish, man. It was a really good way to start the card. And yo, shout out Boston, man. That crowd was there from the first fight until the end, man. They were loud. They were there, man. They showed up early, man, and I loved it. It was really good, man. Didn't seem like a prelim fight. And it was good, man. It was one thing I will say though, the way the fights are set up. Before we get to that fight, why was Damon Blackshear and Mario Bautista on the main card? Why?
Oh, let's get to that.
I know, but still, like. Anyway, good first fight.
Talk about this next women's flyweight fight here. We had Andrea Lee versus Natalia Silva. Andrea Lee coming off, I think, that controversial loss to Macy Barber, where a lot of people thought she won that fight, and then lost here to Natalia Silva. A stand-up fight, majority of the fight, which is kind of weird because Andrea Lee could have is better probably grappling. She could have took her down, but she didn't even attempt it. It was just all a stand-up fight, and Silva was able to win. I think the closest round was like round 2. So I agree with the decision here. Just more technical fighter.
Yeah, Natalia Silva using her taekwondo, man, and Andrea Lee was just getting yelled at by her corner. Bro, 0 takedown attempts, man. You're fighting someone that is a taekwondo specialist, and you're fighting them at distance, right? Which is not how you want to fight a kickboxer, taekwondo, karate, right? Dude, this is my frustration with Andrea Lee, man. She's so good, but it's decisions like that, man. If she would have closed the distance, right, gotten in the clinch more, taken her down, right, it would have been a different fight, right? I'm not saying she would have won, but she put herself in a position to lose, and she got pieced up. Natalia Silva, was hitting her with some hard shots. She was cracking her from the outside, cracking the body. Those kicks were beautiful, man. And that's one thing, man. The women's fights we have on this card were very good technical fights, very good technical fighters, man. But for Andrea Lee, man, she's never gonna shed the image that we have of her, right? Where she's so good, but she can't piece it together. She makes bonehead decisions. She doesn't listen to her corner, right? And look what happened. She lost to Macy Barber in a controversial decision, and she gets pieced up, right? So that's what happened.
I'm just looking at that haircut, bro.
Listen, man, I'm on my Brian Barberena, Dan Hardy arc right now,
Oh, hey, bro, you fucking look. I don't even know, bro. You look like a fucking. I don't know. Crazy. But going into the next fight, we have Andre Petroski able to get the split decision win over Gerald Marchart. Gerald Marchart is a good veteran and a good veteran fighter. And I agree with the split decision. This fight was pretty close. All around, even with the grappling exchanges and on the feet. I think Marchart. The story of this fight was just Marchart got a little tired. He got a little sloppy, and Petroski did too. But his power was just with the striking. His power just showed that he did more damage. It looked like. But Marchart was the more technical fighter. But sometimes I don't get you the win when you're not doing enough. If you don't get the finish, or if your punches don't look like they're damaging the guy enough. So,
right. And listen, I love Andre Petroski, man. He's Daniel Gracie guy. Shout out Daniel Gracie. Those are my guys, man.
his guard is aggressive too.
Yeah, he's a terrific jiu-jitsu practitioner. But the problem with Petroski was the gas tank, man. And the striking. The striking was very sloppy, right?
Well,
he was hitting Mearchart, but Mearchart's not known to be good defensively or good standing up, right? That's my biggest fear. I love Andre Petroski. I think if you piece it together, he could be a contender at middleweight. But, dude, he's got to work on the striking and the gas tank, right? He got gassed, and, if he fights a guy that's a striker, right, at middleweight, he probably's out of there, if we're being honest, right? Because he was so gassed, because he was so sloppy, loading up his punches. We saw it later in the night with, the main event. When you load up your strikes, you leave yourself so open to get hit, right? And, he fought Gerald Mearchar, who's not known as a striker. I think Mearchar put up a good fight, though. Looked very good on the ground and held his own against Petrosky, right? Which is not an easy thing to do. Both these guys are terrific jiu-jitsu practitioners. Uh, it was a good fight. It was tough to score. I agree with the decision, though. I think it was close, but I think Petrosky had more damage, right? I think Mearchar was more accurate in some points, but Petrosky was cracking him, right, when he was hitting him. And listen, a win's a win. It was a really good fight, man. I enjoyed watching it. The crowd is getting into it. Petrosky had people up from Philly driving up to Boston. I just think for Petrosky, man, it's just at least he's building up slowly, right? He's not fighting super high ranked guys or whatever. They're not pushing him super hard. Because now he can go back to the drawing board and work on what he has to work on, right? As he keeps moving up. But no, good fight, man. For Gerald Mearchar, listen, he looked better in his last few fights. I was impressed with Gerald Mearchar, man. He started quicker, right? His knock on him is he starts slow in his fights. But yeah, no, it was a good fight, man. I think Petrosky's an interesting guy to look out for at middleweight.
Going into getting out the early prelims and go into the regular prelims, we'll go with the tough finale for the bantamweights. I think, yeah, the bantamweights. A tough season that I really wasn't really interested in because it was quite evident that Conor McGregor really wasn't caring too much about it either. They don't even have the fight announced. He doesn't even really want to fight Chandler. It seems like he's just going to get forced to probably, and he's probably waiting to get a different fight. And then just the season in general, just I don't know. I don't think it was marketed right. It was marketed around this fight, but the fight's not been announced. I think
And
they
the whole
thought,
prospects versus veterans thing too was so weird. I did not
yeah,
like.
the way it's set up wasn't. They didn't really bring in. They should have brought in like I don't know. I should some of the people they put in Dana White's contender series need to be in tough. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I feel like Dana White contender series always has super high level guys. The fights are always like super big
Right.
scraps. I feel like tough. I don't know. It just ends up some of the fights just end up being kind of sloppy. Still, I don't know.
And Brad
Because like
Katona's won tough
they always
before.
bring like guys like from other guys' gym. Like say Calvin Cater has a guy in his gym that he thinks is good enough to make it. They'll put him on tough.
Right.
Versus like Dana White contender series is guys who are in other organizations who are champions who've been knocking people out.
Right. I think the best tough season in the last recent memory was the flyweight season, right? When they grabbed all the light flyweight champions from other organizations. You had Kai Kara France, Pantoja, Brandon Moreno.
That's probably
Right.
one of the best ones ever.
And it was so good. It was so high level, and it was champions versus champions, fighting. Like the fight we saw, like first off, going to the Brad Katona Gibson fight, it was a banger. It was one of the best bantamweight fights I've personally seen. It was a war, right? Because these guys were fighting for their futures, right? But you saw that almost every single fight in that flyweight season because it was champions. It was top level guys, And I'm not saying that the guys that were on tough this year aren't professionals. They are. But there's different levels to the game, right? Brad Katona is a guy that has won the Ultimate Fighter before, went 2-2 in the UFC. His only losses were to Hunter Azuri and Merab Dvalishvili. He got UD'd pretty dominantly by Merab. But no, this fight was so good, man. It was good. It was a war. They were going at it. Cody Gibson, Dana announced is going to stay around in the UFC, even though he lost the fight.
He should. I mean, he's super. I think. I don't know. I think he's the better of the two. I just think that Brad Katona had more of a gas tank. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Had more of a gas tank. I think Cody, if he would have kept fighting the way he was the whole fight, he's more technical. He has more weapons. I just think Brad Katona, he just has the will and he has great cardio.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like he could have won more rounds, honestly.
Yeah, man. And I think for Cody Gibson, like he's big for bantamweight. He's a big boy for bantamweight, right? And so
like a lightweight.
Yeah, man. I think he'd have a good future bantamweight. I'm gonna be honest though, Brad Katona, man. He trains at a Connor's gym, but I don't know. Like, it was a good win. He won this fight. I don't know how he matches up against other bantamweights, right? Like, it was a sloppy fight. It was a sloppy fight in some ways, And it's like one of those things where bantamweight is such a stacked division where who's to say that this guy isn't out of the UFC after 4 fights again, right? He went 2-2 last time. And that's not a knock on him, but it's like what you're talking about. What's the levels of fighters that we're bringing into tough, right? But it was good. It was good, and like Joe Rogan said, it reminded him of the Forrest Griffin Stephen Bonner fight, right? And I could see it. Like, dude, they were cracking each other hard. They were like,
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's
talking.
better, but I would say it's probably like top five.
Yeah, yeah, it's up there. It's up there. And so, yeah, man, at Brad Katona, I'm interested to see, are they going to give him a ranked guy to start off since he won tough? Like, what are they going to do with him, right? There's a lot of fights you can make at bantamweight. Again, we've talked about it multiple times. It is the most stacked division in the UFC by far, right? There's a lot of fights to make for a lot of people. I don't know. And listen, I like Brad Katona. I think he's an interesting guy. I like his confidence. I like him on the mic, right? We'll see, man.
Yeah, I think out of Brad Katona and Cody Gibson, even though Brad Katona won the fight, I think I could see Cody Gibson lasting longer in the UFC, in
Yeah.
my opinion. So going on to the next tough finale fight, we have Kurt Hollybar versus Austin Hubbard. And I texted you right before it happened. I said, hey, if Kurt if he fights a little bit more messy, he's gonna get the finish here, and he ended up hurting the guy and then ended up getting a submission. Um, but he has great jiu-jitsu. He's like a super aggressive guy with the big right hand, a lot of power. He's not the most technical guy, but then he has a great guard, a great aggressive guard. So if you hurt him, it's kind of dangerous to go play with him on the ground. So Austin Hubbard, though, I think he's a good fighter as well. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think Kurt just had the tools to put a guy away. I think Austin was trying to fight for a decision win.
Dude, the IQ, right, to be able to go from an armbar into that triangle. Oof. Bro, the way he did it as well, like that whole sequence was some of the most beautiful jiu-jitsu I've seen in MMA, right? Cuz it's tough to transition jiu-jitsu into MMA, right? Cuz you're getting punched in the face, you got gloves on. Dude, that looked like something out of a tournament. That looked so beautiful. The way he um when he flipped, right, he wrapped his legs around, cinched up the arm. Usually it takes a minute, right? Guys got an arm extended, you got to try to wrap it around their head. No, that was in. That was tight, man. If Austin Hubbard doesn't tap, he's going to sleep, right? For Kurt Holloway, man, it was good. It was a good fight, man. I'm always down to see, lightweights with good jiu-jitsu, man, because it's such an interesting division. The way those guys are built, how big they are, right? What they can do. We see it with Donald Cerrone. We saw it with Oliveira, BJ Penn, all these guys like lightweights. That weight class, those guys are so tall and long and big where you can do stuff like this, transition from an armbar into a triangle. It's a good win for him, man. And listen, Kurt Holloway, he's a veteran's veteran, right? He fights smart. He's got experience. He fights with experience, right? I think he's an interesting guy to keep seeing on the cards, man. Let's see what kind of fights he can put up. I think they're going to be exciting fights. I think he's an exciting guy to watch. And the draw, man, when he got on the mic, man, when he was talking, like you love to see those stories. You love to see the comebacks. And I do love that about tough sometimes, where you get the veterans back in, right? You get the guys that got experience that get a second chance, and they're feel good stories, man. I will say though, I don't like how low these fights are on the card, right? I think for a tough finale, you got to bump it up the card a bit.
But honestly, you got to think about it this though. These tough fights were better than usual finales. So honestly,
Yeah,
like
that is true.
you got like Usman's brother in the finale and shit, like fights like those. So,
Oh, that
but
has that guy been popped by USADA yet? Like,
has he
I
fought? Has he fought again yet?
no, he's probably trying to clean out the steroids in the system before he fights again. That's why. But yeah,
Going up,
Muhammad Usman, we know you juice, bro. It's okay. Everybody does it.
going up to middleweight, we got a guy that we love here on the podcast. We got Gregory Rodriguez, aka RoboCop, over here getting the KO win over a tough guy. Dennis Tulian, a guy whose record doesn't look the best, but he's won like the last you know out of last 10 fights, he's won a majority of them. So, and he's a tough guy, but people are contesting the stoppage of the finish or the way he finished him. But gotta think about it. He was trying to get the side of his head, but he's throwing his full forearm, so it's gonna wrap around his head and it might hit. Look like it's in the back of his head as well. But the intention looked like he was trying to elbow the side of his head. So
And
to
it was
me,
more towards the top as well. Like,
yeah, it was clean to me. And honestly, it's a cage fight. Like,
right, and that's something Joe Rogan did. talking with Terrence Crawford and talking with Jorge Masvidal on his podcast and Paul Felder, right? One thing Joe Rogan and all those guys mentioned was like shots to the back of the head, right? Why are they banned in MMA, right? And that's one of those things. Like, I'm not saying it was a shot to the back of the head, but it's the same way like knees on the ground, right, or stuff like that. You're eating knees standing up. You're eating elbows, right? A shot to the back of the head. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just again, that's a whole discussion for how the rules should change as the UFC and MMA keeps evolving, right? But I don't think it was dirty, right? His intention was not to hit him in the back of the head. He's throwing an elbow down. The forearm is hitting right that main area at the top of the head. Does it wrap a little bit behind? Yeah, but guess what? You have kicks that wrap behind a guy's ear all the time. In my opinion, it was clean. I think Gregory Rodriguez was going to win that fight regardless, right? To Daniel Cormier going out saying, I think Tulua's got to go out and contest it, man. You got to fight for your job. Bro, he was going to lose that fight anyway. That elbow did not change a thing. It just accelerated the process, right? There is no point contesting that. It's going to get turned down anyway, right? Like, you were getting mounted on the ground. You were done, right?
Yeah,
Gregory
the finish
Rodriguez.
isn't the problem. The skills is the problem. Like point to where you got mounted like that.
And that's my problem with the commentary was an issue this card. I'm gonna be honest. And by commentary, I don't mean John Anik. Uh, a little bit of Joe, but Daniel Cormier, man, what is he on? I'm gonna be honest. What is he on, bro? He's calling like the wrong transitions. He's calling the wrong submissions. He's talking about guys contesting fights. He's out here slobbing on Chris Weidman, right? It's things like that where I'm just being honest. It destroys the integrity of the sport when a casual is watching the fight and he's hearing this guy talk. And I listen. DC's a great champion. I think DC has some great analysis, right, at moments. But you gotta be impartial, right? You gotta call it how it is. And so I don't think it's an illegal strike. I think the truck calling it an illegal strike was also stupid. It's not an illegal strike. In any way, it didn't change the fight, for being honest. That fight was gonna be finished anyway. So, but RoboCop, man. Love to see RoboCop. I love to see him get another win. And I just want to keep seeing more RoboCop. He's getting older, man. We don't know how much time we got left with him in the UFC.
Bro, he's
So
actually not that old. They showed the graphic. He's only 31.
it's only 30. What?
Unless the
Bro.
unless their graphics are wrong, because I thought he was way older. Because remember I texted you, I saw I love him, but he's kind of old. I looked at the graphics. He's only 31.
Oh my gosh, he's only 31. Bro, he looks like he's 37.
He's about to. He's about to probably be a fucking contender one day. Oh God.
You know, I take that back. Yeah, give this guy like Andre Muniz or something, man. He's got time. These are gonna be good fights. He's got good fights lined up. Ooh,
Brandon
Paul
Allen.
Craig, Paul Craig
Brendan
and
Allen.
RoboCop. Paul
Brendan
Craig and
Allen.
RoboCop.
Brendan Allen.
Nah, Brendan Allen's already fighting higher guys, man. I would love that though. But Paul Craig versus RoboCop.
Yeah, that'd be a good fight, but I'll be scared. I like Paul Craig. I'd be kind of scared for him though.
That'd be a
So
good fight.
going into going into the
This
next
next
fight,
fight,
we got
man.
the return of Chris Weidman after his leg injury against Uriah Hall. Brad Tavares, just destroying his legs in this fight, to the point where he got some 10-8 rounds only off of like dropping him off of leg kicks. Um, really, I mean, this was a very impressive fight from Brad Tavares. It just reminds people of how good his kickboxing is. He just came around when there's people like Rob Whitaker, Adesanya, people who striking is just better. So, and people forget that Romero couldn't even take him down. So people who thought that Chris Weidman was going to be able to wrestle him, people who think that Chris Weidman has some crazy wrestling still, just got proved wrong in this fight. But I mean, Chris Weidman tried. It looked like he was surviving most of the fight, but it kind of, I don't know though. Who do you think would have won in a fight against him and Luke Rockhold? Luke Rockhold at least fought Paulo Costa in his last fight. A guy who's tough. I don't know. Who do you think would have won?
I think Rocco would have won because Rocco's a kickboxer. He would just kick Weidman's knees out again. Like I'm with Dana White on this. Please retire Chris Weidman. I did not want to watch that. It was painful.
I feel like I'm 21.
Like it was, dude. I love Chris Weidman. I've been watching Chris Weidman. I still remember where I was, right, when Anderson Silva got knocked out by Chris Weidman, right? And that whole run, he was a monster, right? He was amazing, right? He just ended up fighting a murderer's row of middleweights. Like, he was beating Luke Rockhold, then he threw a wheel kick out of nowhere and got destroyed on the ground. It was painful to watch, man. I think Chris Weidman. I don't think he should have even been in the octagon. If I'm being honest, right? You could tell that leg was compromised before Brad Tavares even threw a kick, right? And then they said he burst his ACL on the other leg, on the right leg, right?
Because he's putting more pressure on that leg because he's compromised the other legs. But you can see in the fight that there's one leg he's putting more weight on, and one leg looks smaller, one leg looks more weak. His stance is a whole different than what it used to be.
And
So
there's people throwing hate on Brad Tavares on Twitter talking about, oh, that's a legend, bro. Like, you know what he went through. Why are you throwing leg kicks, bro? It's a fight. You signed a contract, right? You're going in there to kill each other, right? You know, the casuals don't get it, bro. You're going in there, and Chris Weidman understood. He was cool about it after the fight. Like, he gets it. You're going in there to sign a fight. It's not like Chris Weidman's like, hey, fight me, but don't kick my leg. Like, no, Brad Tavares did what he had to do. And he was motivated, right, with stuff going on in Hawaii and Maui, man. You know, prayers out to Maui and all that stuff. That's some sad stuff with the fires, bro. So Brad Tavares was a man possessed. That's the best I've seen Brad Tavares in a long time. And at 35, man, he still got some time in middleweight to make some noise, right? And so he looked very good. For Chris Weidman, dude, the way he shot for takedowns, he's done. He's done, bro. And I hate saying it because not every guy's going to get a Robbie Lawler type of retirement, right? Not everybody's going to get an Amanda Nunes type retirement. That's part of the game. You don't always go out on top. Most of the time, you don't go out on top, you know? And so it's sad. It was sad for me as a hardcore fan to watch Chris Weidman get destroyed. I'm thankful they put it on the prelims, right? Everybody's making a fuss. Oh, why is Chris Weidman on the prelims? That's why. That's why, you know. And so it was just tough to watch. I thought his legs were like he was just cussing and stuff every time I got kicked in the legs. He couldn't walk on it. Like it is what it is, bro. The game passed you by. He's 39. He's got his health still intact. He's coaching, right? He's coaching MMA now. Listen, man, Chris Weidman, I love you, man, but it's time, dude. You're done. You know, for your own good, you know. So
and for
I don't think he's
all the new MMA fans, every time you hear like an older fighter talking about some, I feel like I'm young again, and I feel like I can take another shot. Father Time is undefeated. Like took Kobe, took Kobe. It's about to
Yep.
take Braun. It took
Yep.
MJ. It's gonna take Muhammad Ali. It took Mike Tyson. It's gonna take everybody.
I love John Anik to death, but when John Anik said we hope we see Chris Weidman back in the UFC, nah, man, nah, man. And that's for listen. I love Chris Weidman. It's nothing against him, but the game passed you by, man. You don't want guys to end up like BJ Penn, right? BJ Penn lost like 9 or 10 straight fights, right? 10 his career or whatever. And so, yeah, man, I think he's done. But Brad Tavares, man, hey, who knows what he can do in middleweight now? If he's looking that good, you know.
So we're gonna move up to the main card here. It's kind of funny because you got like Damon Blackshear versus Batista over Weidman versus Tavares, which is Tavares, the guy who's fought, Yoel Romero, Adesanya, Chris Weidman, former champ. Which I mean, in terms of skill wise, I don't think Weidman's good enough to be on the main card, but just on name value, I feel like it's kind of weird that they were on the prelims. But it is what
Why
it
is
is.
Cheeto so low? Like, why is Cheeto below Damon Blackshear? Like,
Because this is a late notice fight. This wasn't, if this was Cheeto Henry Cejudo, it would have been the third fight on the card.
yeah, I agree.
So going into Cheeto Vera versus Pedro Munoz on a fight that is getting a lot of hate. People hate on Cheeto saying it was boring, but to me, I enjoyed the fight. Super technical fight.
Yeah,
This is a fight that if you enjoy the technicality of striking, different styles as well. You got Cheeto, a guy who's defensive, and then looking for opportunities to explode with some power. And then a Pedro who's a guy with more volume, who's touching him up, and he was using more of that Brazilian boxing. A great fight here. I'm surprised he wasn't more on the ground a little bit. I'm surprised Pedro Munoz didn't try to take him down as much, and that it was more striking majority of the fight. But I enjoyed the fight, and I agree with the decision. People were saying that Pedro won the fight. Um, just because it hits the glove and it looks like he hit him doesn't mean he hits him. If you really watch the fight, watch it in slow mo. Like Cheeto does little small things that even if it looks like it hits him, he's actually the defense was. It reminded me of like Ilya versus Josh Emmett, just the defense in the fight while being in danger.
yep.
So
I don't know if you remember the you remember obviously the Rob Font Cheeto Vera fight, right? Rob Font landed the most significant strikes in UFC history. and no one will argue that he won that fight. Why? Because Cheeto, the stats will tell you he gets hit with strikes. Cheeto never gets cut. Cheeto never ends up with red on his face. Nothing. And it's so amazing to see how he just rolls with punches, or how he just stays where you throw the punch, you graze him, but it doesn't land, right? And he is so technical and precise. He's just a sniper in the way he fights. Like, dude, I saw this stat, which is why I don't understand the 30-27s, right? Cheeto Vera, before this fight, had not won a first round in 4 years, because the way he fights, it's kind of like Terrence Crawford, right? In boxing, he reads you the first couple rounds, and once he's got you down like a computer, boom, you're done, right? And Pedro Munoz was throwing the harder shots, but Cheeto was piecing him up with the counters, right? Pedro
His
Munoz is
jab,
all busted up, like
his
that jab,
jab was
bro.
crazy.
Cheeto's jab and then his combos when he can chain his kicks together. Oh my gosh, it's a thing of beauty, man. And shout out Jason Perillo, right? One of the best striking coaches in mixed martial arts, right? Um, Dude, terrific fight, man, for Cheeto Vera. A lot of people throw hate on it because it's boring or whatever. You gotta understand technical fighting, man. Not every fight's gonna be a knockout.
This
Not
was
every
a
fight's
change
gonna be.
change of opponent as well. He's supposed to fight Henry Cejudo.
Yes. So and in training for Henry, he probably was training a wrestling heavy camp, right?
But he
So
was
now he.
this style would have been perfect for Henry. More reserved defense.
Yep.
Be prepared for takedowns.
Yeah, man. And so, no, Cheeto Vera, man. Now Sean wants to fight Cheeto for the title. Because Marab is injured, because Sanhagen's injured. Um, if they do it, I don't mind it, right? Because Cheeto is such a good fighter where you're not going to argue that, hey, he's not good enough to be in that spot. He is. He's one of the most technical strikers in the UFC. Um, and he just keeps, like, even the Sanhagen fight, he lost that fight, right? But it wasn't like, Cheeto shouldn't be there. Like, no, it's just two high level guys fighting each other, right? Bantamweight, we've talked about it. It's so stacked.
And
Once you hit that top 10,
you could still argue he won 2 rounds in that fight, which is crazy.
exactly. And that top 10 at Bantamweight, dude, those guys are so interchangeable. The levels at Bantamweight right now. So Cheeto Vera, man, good win on a short notice. He did what he had to do. He stoked the fire a bit with Sean as well at the press conference. I love that. And I love Cheeto's attitude, man. He goes in there, he fights anybody. He'll fight his mom if he has to, right? He's
Relax.
just that kind of guy. He's a gamer, man. And so, good win for Cheeto Vera. And to the casuals on Twitter, man, stop. Just stop, bro. If you don't understand technical striking, man, go back to watching replays of guys getting knocked down in the 2000s, because that's your style of fighting, not what's going on today. MMA is so technical now. You have to appreciate what these guys are doing, man.
So going to a bantamweight fight, we had Mario Batista get a decision win over a guy who fought like a week ago and got the twister. Which people who don't know that get a twister over another, UFC fighter that means you're grappling super high level, because that's like dunking on somebody. Honestly, it's like dunking on somebody. Basketball. So, but not be able to get the win here against Batista. Batista, he was training to fight a guy like Cody Garbrandt, which probably would have been more of a stand-up fight. So, he's trying to avoid getting grappled this fight. But his grappling, his takedown was a little bit, decent, and his grappling was decent as well. And Demon, he lost here, but I still, he's still a good fighter. I still think his name goes up in the division, because he just shows that he's game for a fight, and he didn't get finished here, after coming off a fight for 7 days against a guy who trains with guys like Sean O'Malley. So.
Yeah, and he almost got finished as well, and he did a really good job defending against the guillotine. You texted me about that, and that's one thing I hate where, it's tight. Oh, it's tight. Dude, every submission attempt in jiu-jitsu is tight. That's how it works. The thing is, you learn to overcome the pressure, right, and get out of it. And Damon Blackshear did what he had to do, right? He was pulling on his head. He was trying to posture up with his legs. He was doing what he had to do to get out, and survive, right? So yeah, shout out the commentary team, because every time somebody locks in a darce or a guillotine or tries, it's tight. Oh, his face. Oh my gosh. Oh, it's under her neck. Like, shut up.
Yeah,
But
his
no,
head was
Mario
half out of
Bautista,
the guillotine already, and they were like, "It's tight." I'm like,
dude, and Mario Bautista is a terrific prospect, man. Shout out to him. Fighting a guy like Damon Blackshear on short notice is no easy task. Shout out to Damon Blackshear for taking this fight, right, as well. And I think both these guys, their stock goes up. Damon Blackshear's still, I think, a really good fighter who has a good future if he can put it together. And Mario Bautista, man, he's shown different. He showed a lot of different levels to his game on the ground, on the feet, right? And that's what you want to see in a guy. You want to see a guy tested in every area of fighting, right? So you can be like, hey, is this guy good? What are his levels at, right? And I think Mario Bautista at bantamweight, again, stacked division. We're gonna say it again, stacked division. He's a guy that I think can make some noise, right, and have some interesting fights, right, in the top 15. So, good fight. I agree with the decision. But Damon Blackshear, hey, if he would have won this fight after a week, that would have been big, man.
And then going into the next fight, we got Ian Machado Gary styling on Neil Magny. I don't like all the pre-fight stuff he was talking about, like about him being his dad, is beating his kid. Like I don't think that's what he meant. I think he just means he'll punish his kids, which is acceptable. You can spank your kid if he's a badass kid. That's why y'all niggas got badass kids and sons that want to be girls and shit. But we're not gonna get into that because this is on YouTube. So you got people looking like Jose and shit walking around.
Man, come on now. My
Nah,
parents
but
did.
going back into the fight though, Ian Gary, besides all the talking stuff and how bad and cringe he wants to be Connor, fighting wise, he's a real talent. I want him to fight Shavkat right away. Like book that fight right now. I want that fight right away. And he just
Yeah, he
destroyed
called
Neil
out
Magny with the
Wonderboy.
leg kicks. Yeah, Wonder Boy would be a good fight too, but Dana already said in the press conference that Wonder Boy turned it down already. They called him right away and he turned it down. So shows why they didn't give him his show money because Wonder Boy seems like he's picking his fights. But another good fight that would be for Ian Gary. I know it's a guy who would be back in the ranking a little bit, Kevin Holland, but I know he's booked to fight Jack Della Maddalena. So,
Yep, banger
but
of a
for the,
fight.
the fight, he just destroyed his legs in this fight. Basically, that's all he really did was destroy his legs. Got the Chris Weidman treatment.
Bro, what did Neil Magny do at all in this fight? If we're being honest, other than that one back take on the fence, which he still didn't do anything with. Like,
Scooted his butt. He
bro,
was scooting his butt across the cage more than he was striking.
like this Neil Magny is the most vanilla fighter at welterweight. He's basically the Derek Brunson of welterweight. If we're being honest, that's what Neil Magny has been for a
He's,
couple of years
he's a
now.
Walmart Geoff Neal. Jeff
And
Neal.
let's be honest, dude, if Jeff Neal wouldn't have gotten injured and would have been in this fight, it would have been a totally different fight,
It would have
right?
been a war.
Would have been a war, right? And here's the thing with Ian Gary, I will say. First off, the 30-24 is hilarious. That's the first 30-24 in UFC history, brother. Um, Neil Magny, dude, check a leg kick. Just one. Just check it, bro. Like, or if he's gonna keep kicking you, grapple with him. You're a better grappler than he is. Like, what? I don't understand. I know it was short notice, but brother, like, if a guy's kicking you, grapple, make it messy, go up against the cage, right? I will say with Ian Gary, man, he could have gotten a finish, and I think he should have. And it kind of, I know he got one in the D-Rod fight, but I don't know. He won the fight. He fought really good, right? He has a lot of talent. I think a guy like Shavkat, who's a zombie, right, who eats everything and throws back even harder and can grapple, because Shavkat can grapple too. That's going to be where we really see, okay, can Ian Gary really fight, right, at this level? Can he really, at this level, do what's got to get done? And I don't think he wants the Shavkat fight yet. I get why he called out Wonder Boy. It's a little, no disrespect to Wonder Boy. It's a different level. It's more of a striking aspect, right? But bro, if they book that Shavkat fight, I might have to put some money on Shavkat. That's nothing against Ian Gary, but
He'll
yes,
probably be
he
the
looked
favorite.
great. Like yes, he looked good against Neil Magny, but there's still some holes there, man. We don't know what his grappling really looks like against a high level grappler, right? We don't know if he can, put guys out, right, at will, like Connor would, because that's what he's going for. He's trying to be Connor, right? But Sean O'Malley, we look at a guy that was built up as a star in the UFC, right? And it culminated last night. We'll get to that. But he was putting guys out, right? He was doing amazing stuff. Ian Gary, took the guy's leg out. That is amazing in its own sense. But bro, you need to start knocking out these guys. If he would have knocked out Neil Magny, he had a chance at the end of the fight. He could have knocked him out. And I don't know, man. Listen. Ian Gary as well with all the parenting stuff. He kept talking about it post fight, like he had done some justice for the world by beating Neil Magny. I get it. He's trying to start some beef so he can drop some counter quotes at the press conference. But like, dude, you're getting mad at a guy over how he parents his kid, right? And keep in mind, Neil Magny's made hundreds of thousands of dollars. Probably has his kids in a private school. Probably is giving his kids more toys than most kids will see in their life, right? All stuff that, as a good father, you strive to do. Shut up. You took your wife's last name, bro. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
Going into the co-main, we had Zhang Weili dominating Amanda Lemos on the ground, and a lot of times on the feet. I think the best round for Amanda Lemos was round 4. And I ain't gonna lie, a couple of her right hands like kind of scared me the way she connected with Weili. It kind of gave me flashbacks to Weili getting knocked out by Rose, and it reminded me that she can get knocked out. But besides like the couple of right hands and the Lemos throws, she just got destroyed this fight. But for her, she didn't give up. Her cardio must be super good. So to be getting beat up like that and to still be in the fight pretty much, every round, she was up and she had energy. Shows that she had great cardio. She trained hard for this fight, but Weili's just a different level. I think Weili, we need to start talking about her as the GOAT of this division, maybe after she beats Yao Jinan, because I think Yao Jinan is a real challenge. I think after she beats Yao Jinan, I think we need to talk about her maybe being the GOAT of that division, especially because you got Rose running away, not trying to fight anymore, going to a different division. And, she's creeping up on Joanna's record, so.
Yeah.
Weili's
So
starting to
Zhang
be like the
Weili,
star girl in the company too.
yeah, Zhang Weili said she's open to Tatiana Suarez or John. John is the one. If we're being honest, John is the one that needs to fight for the title. I don't think Tatiana's there yet. Nor do I want to see that fight. If I'm being honest, I don't like the way Tatiana fights. We talked about it. Zhang Weili broke so many records last night, dude, with her performance. Like most significant strikes in a title fight, most significant strikes in a women's fight, most significant strikes in a women's title fight. Like you can go on and on and on, bro. That 50-43 should have been across the board. That first off, that 49-45. What? I'm sorry. You gave a round to Amanda Lemos. Where?
I mean, I can see round 4 maybe.
Maybe, but even then, Zhang Weili was just like, okay, let's reverse this. Let me smash her face in. Like Amanda Lemos, I get it. She filled in this fight. They were going for the Jean fight. She should not have been there, bro. I no disrespect. She should not have been there. There's levels
she got
to this
standing
man.
submitted by Jessica Andrade. Like, come on now. Like that was like not. I don't think that was the last fight, but the fight before that. And look what
Zhang
Andrade getting beat
Weili.
by everybody.
Zhang Weili is a robot. She's not human, dude. She is insane. I think Zhang Weili, like you're talking about, you have to put her up in discussion for women's GOAT, right? And I think because again, all the women's GOATs that we have lost, right? Shevchenko, Nunes, Ronda, Misha Tate, like they've all lost, right? Zhang Weili's lost as well, but dude, they avenge it. They come back. They come back so much better. I think Zhang Weili, you give her 2-3 more years, there is a good discussion. She might pass Amanda Nunes, right? And I think she could go up and be a double champ and fight Rose if Rose gets the flyweight title, right? So, dude, Zhang Weili, man, never ceased to impress me. I think a lot of people, after the Rose Namajunas fight, kind of forgot about her. Like, dude, you can't. Zhang Weili is one of the greatest women's mixed martial artists ever. And I think you have to put her up there with some of the greatest mixed martial artists ever in general, right? Like, she is so good, so perfect in her technique and her training, right? And that performance last night, dude, rarely have I seen someone get so dominated in a fight, right? But that was torture. That Amanda Lemos, man, I don't know what to say about her. I get it. She tried to do an RKO in the middle of the fight. That little like Darce attempt ended up being like an RKO, but other than that, dude, other than like 2 right hands, it was all the Zhang Weili show, man. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I think Jean's gonna be a really good fight for her. But we need to stop the Tatiana Suarez propaganda. I need Twitter to get off that. I need the UFC to get off that. No.
Suarez is a tranny, bro. All right, going on to the main event, we got the Suga Show. this is a fight. I think every MMA fan was invested in. Every real MMA fan was there. Everybody wanted to see Aljo finally lose. And he wonders why he gets so much hate. I hate when people act like they don't know why. Let's do some reflecting. His last 3 fights he lost, brother. He lost to Beyond to get the belt. You
Except
lost
TJ. He
to
didn't lose TJ. He didn't lose TJ. That's the only one.
You didn't lose to TJ. You lost to um, Henry Cejudo, in my opinion, and then TJ, he was hurt. So I don't
And it was
know.
terrible.
I mean, the TJ one, I'll give you
Um,
the TJ. I'll give you the TJ one, but I don't know.
but
I just feel like
TJ shouldn't have been there. Let's be honest. TJ should not have been there because he robbed Corey Sandhagen.
yeah, and he's
Just
also
saying.
a guy who's held up the division. He's holding up Marab, a guy that we all think is the better version of Aljo. So in this fight, you
Yes.
could tell. And then in this fight, people were saying the first round was boring, but the first round was the biggest thing that set up this what happened. I think everything changed after. If everybody sees that right hand when Sean just exploded, he shot a right hand to Aljo's body. And I think Aljo realized how fast and how powerful he was, and it hurt him a little bit. And Aljo backed up after that. And ever since then, Aljo was striking a lot different. He was striking more defensive. He wasn't really striking for the takedowns. He was really striking to survive. And I think the weight cut of this fight really got to him as well. And then a perfect strike from Sean. Mirror image of Conor McGregor's knockout of Aldo, just in an orthodox stance. And a great finish. I got up on my feet, threw my phone, was screaming, and I was so happy because this is going to bring a lot of more big fights and a lot more
Yeah.
money to the company, a company we all love and we want to flourish. So um, this is better for the bantamweight division, in my opinion, as well. So
All right. Let's break down a couple of things. That was not an early stoppage. All
oh
you
yeah,
idiots that think that was an early stoppage. He was turning over, flailing his arms, and taking 15 unanswered shots.
his legs were kicking in
Stop.
the air.
Stop, bro. He literally turned over and couldn't find Sean. Like,
For all the
that's
casuals
not
that
early.
messaged me, for all the casuals that messaged me and said it was early, if he was like coherent and able to still fight, he would have turned towards his legs and started grabbing his legs. He wouldn't have turned away from him and would have been like this. If he was able, he would have started grappling. He would have went for like a leg lock. He would have tried to do something like that versus, or he would have put his legs in between him and kicked off and tried to go for some leg kicks, up kicks. You don't flail your legs in the air and try to turn the opposite way and cover your face. That means you're done. That means you're out of there.
And that's the thing. He didn't even cover his face because he was so stiff, just going like this as he's getting hit. Like, bro.
Face
So,
down, ass up.
right. And so it's not an early stoppage. So that we'll get that part out of the way, right? Um, dude, that first round. For this is why I hate the commentary sometimes because they're like that little failed takedown attempt by Aljo. They're like, oh, this might give Aljo the round.
Yeah,
Huh?
Sean won that. Sean O'Malley just dominated that round, in my opinion.
Bro, the judges gave the first round to Aljo. He landed 11 leg kicks, right? They were pillows. He didn't hit Sean hard in the leg at all.
Well, I
He
think
was just tapping
one of
him.
them was decent. One of them was decent.
Yeah, just but like, okay, sure, one, bro. Every strike Sean O'Malley threw in that first round was hitting, right? Because he was picking his shots. He was showing how quick he was. Aljo, bro, every time Sean fainted, Aljo was
Big responses.
like,
It gives me like it gave me Adesanya versus Whitaker the first time vibes,
yes.
where after Whitaker realized how fast and tactical Adesanya was, he started reacting super heavy to every single thing.
Yeah, man. And then the striking, dude. Aljamain Sterling cannot strike to save his life. Bro, the way he loaded up and tried to blitz in, like, you could tell, and you watch a replay, he closed his eyes knowing he wasn't going to get out of the way of that shot, right? Um, and I love that after the fight, they were like, Joe was like, are you still going to move up to featherweight? He's like, what? Do you see what happened? I can only imagine what Volk would do to me and those guys at 145. Yeah, bro. Ilya, Max Holloway, Volk, Yair Rodriguez, right? Arnold Allen would eat up Aljamain Sterling for breakfast, lunch, and dinner at 145, bro. So cool. You're going to have to cut 35 pounds every single fight week now, right? You're not getting a Sean O'Malley rematch for a while because Marab, Cheeto, and Sandhagen, those three, I think, are more contention than Aljo after that, right? For a variety of reasons, right? We don't think Aljo won the second Yan fight.
We
He
don't want
just
to
held
see
his
him.
bet. He didn't win the Cejudo fight, in my opinion, either. You beat TJ Dillashaw with one shoulder on steroids. Congrats, bro. Congrats. And then you get starched by Sean O'Malley, right? As it should have been. Here's the thing with Aljamain Sterling. He won the title on an illegal knee that he didn't commit. So why are we rewarding someone based on someone else's mistake? It should have been a no contest and a rebook for the title. Simple as that, bro. Aljo should not have been the spot to begin with. So for people asking why MMA fans hate Aljamain Sterling, he's corny. He acts like he deserved to be in that spot.
He walks out to Joyner Lucas.
Walked out to Joyner Lucas. Like, bro, he deserved to be fighting for titles. I agree. But to be the champ, no. Corey Sandhagen, right? He choked out Corey Sandhagen. You do that fight today, totally different fight. I think Corey Sandhagen wins that fight. It's a totally different fighter. Aljamain Sterling has not improved. He just hasn't. His striking still sucks. He's throwing pillows. Dude, if you book him versus Merab, which obviously they wouldn't because they're friends or whatever, bro, like you said a couple minutes ago, Merab is a better version of this guy. Merab should have been the one fighting for titles, not this guy, dude. And so now he's going to stay at 135 and ask for a rematch and just hold up the division again. Dude, go to 45 and go get starched up there. This is a Suga Show. Shout out Sean O'Malley, man. That was perfect. This guy is superstar material. This guy showed he can grapple, right? And is grappling outside the UFC, but also against Piotr Jan and all these guys, right? His striking, oh my gosh, it's world class. You can't touch this guy, he's so big. And then he's just sniping you from the outside, knocking people out. Bro, a Cheeto fight would be amazing. A Sandhagen fight would be amazing. A Merab fight would be amazing. This guy's selling pay-per-views. This is who we want as champ. Listen, do I love his hair? Not necessarily. Do I love his tats? Not necessarily. But we love the way he fights. That's what MMA is about. This guy is exciting to watch, man. So yeah, Pillow, Aljamain Sterling, your braids got undone by that punch, bro, as they should have been, because why were they green in the first place? Go to 145, bro. Leave it alone. Go to 145.
I think a perfect fight. Before we get into the Korean Zombie Max Holloway card, I think a perfect fight for Aljo, in my opinion, would be to give him that Umar fight. If he wants to stay at 135. 145, I think he gets starched by a lot of those guys. So I think if he stays at 135, give him that Umar fight. Or I wouldn't say Dominic Cruz because I feel like he'll dominate Dominic Cruz on the ground. But, I mean, if Dominic Cruz wants to challenge, I wouldn't say no. I mean, former champ versus former champ. And then for Sean O'Malley, I think what?
You know what Umar did last night? Before this fight, Umar, like an idiot, after the Cheeto fight, called out Cheeto. Like, bro, wait like an hour more, and this would have been the fight for you to call out. It would have been perfect. I know, he called out Cheeto, so...
I mean, Cheeto's getting the Sean O'Malley fight. You got Corey hurt. You got Merab hurt.
It's and then Merab talking about, is early stoppage. I hope none of my friends get Mark Goddard as referee.
Oh. I still want the Merab versus Cejudo fight. I want to see that fight before Merab gets a title shot. I don't know why. I just feel like that's a good test, and I feel like you got to give him something. You don't get to just sit around.
I agree, man. And listen, I love Merab. We love Merab on this show, but bro, that's when you should have been like, okay, you beat my teammate. I'm gonna avenge that. I'm gonna fight you. Like, give me something to get excited about. Not, oh, it's early stoppage. My boy, my best friend. Like, dude, shut up. Your best friend shouldn't even be in that weight class, right? He cuts 35 pounds for a fight, bro. Like, and he can't strike. Again, I'm going to keep playing that on replay every single night to go to sleep because it's so beautiful. The way he just overextends and then just gets starched, bro.
He got him frustrated because every time he would get O'Malley against the cage, O'Malley would go in a parallel stance and he would just bounce left to right. So wherever Aljo would come, he would just go and escape that way, which was getting him frustrated because, normally people, when you're trying to cut them off of the cage, they usually have one way they're trying to escape and you can kind of figure them out. But O'Malley straight away just hops in the parallel stances, Aljo, and bouncing left to right, and he was just out of there. His footwork won him this fight. So going into the Korean Zombie versus
what would you rate the card? Fight. What would you rate the card?
Oh, this is I don't know, just because I'm so invested in the main event, bro, and I think Wei Lee showed up. Usually, the co-main was snooze fest, but I think this is a good fight. So I'll say it was an 8. if they would have had the Cejudo versus Cheeto like how it was supposed to, if they would have had, I think there was another canceled fight. I forgot what it was. Cody Garbrandt versus Batista. Even though Cody Garbrandt isn't that much, more draw, but I don't know. I just would have loved to see that Sugar versus him going back and forth at the conference.
Yep.
I'll give it like an 8.
Yeah, I think eight's fair. $7 million gate. It was packed. They gotta fix the time zone, bro. The main event didn't start till 1 in the morning. Right? That's brutal for
In
East Coast.
Boston, in Boston.
In Boston too, bro. So shout out to fans for staying there. But yeah, I think 8 out of 10 is fair. And yeah, let's go to this, bro. This card looks interesting. The Singapore card,
Yeah, because
right?
my phone's about to die, so we got to get into this real quick. We're gonna get into the baptism card, where we're gonna see, Korean Zombie get baptized by Max Holloway, to burn all those fires away in Maui. He's gonna baptize him with the water that he's supposed to use in Maui. And then we get to see Anthony Smith get baptized by Ryan Spann. So
Right.
hopefully this is Anthony Smith's retirement fight. I'm calling for it right now. But the big one, the return of one of my favorite fighters, Giga Chikadze versus Alex Caceres, which is a good
Yes.
fight. Um, I've been waiting for Giga to come back ever since he lost to Calvin Kattar. I think he, took some time to get some recovery and get some more skills. So, I'm excited to see this fight.
I like the Waldo Cortez fight. I like Waldo Cortez a lot. Obviously, got
Wait,
leg
what
kick
the
to death.
fuck? Why is Aaron Blatchfield versus Talia Santos so low on this card?
I think you would notice. Yeah.
I didn't notice because it was so. I had to scroll to see it.
Yep.
It should have been one of the top. It should have been. It should be.
Should have been co-main. Should have been co-main.
Honestly, Giga, Alex Caceres should be co-main. It should have been the third fight on the card, in my opinion.
Funny thing about Anthony Smith, Ryan Spann's last 2 losses were to Krylov and Anthony Smith. So
Nah, bro, he's gonna baptize him, bro, like Dominic Reyes. I swear to God, he is. I'm
hey,
praying.
listen, man.
I'm not hopeful, but I'm praying for it.
I like that Rolando Bedoya Song Kanon fight. I like Bedoya a lot.
Sleeper fight, Chidi Njokuani versus Michael Orlowski, or how you say that guy's last name? Orlis.
Michael Alexiuk.
Okay, yeah, that guy, the Polish boxer guy.
I like him.
Yeah, I like him. He loses some fights. And then Rolando Bedoya.
Yeah, Bedoya versus Jesus. Song Kanon, the guy that Ian Gary beat. Lucas Bresky versus Waldo Cortez Costa is a really good heavyweight fight. Those guys are very technical. That Junior Taffa Parker Porter fight, dude, is gonna be sloppy big boy fighting.
Yeah,
I'll tell you right now.
And then you got the return of Cy Young Choi, the South Korean superstar K-pop star looking motherfucker.
Rinya Nakamura versus Fernie Garcia, -700 favorite. Rinya Nakamura. Dude, Max Holloway's a -700 favorite. I don't like Max taking this fight. I think if he wants to be in title contention still, this was not the fight to take, right? Especially after being Arnold Allen. I get it's a legacy fight. Everybody loves the Korean Zombie. Everybody loves Max, but
he should have waited took the. He should have waited and took the Ilya fight for contender fight for Volk. That's what should have happened.
I think him and Ilya on this, like, for this card would have been perfect, right? Him and Ilya Taporia. But then again, they brought in Max and Korean Zombie because Zhang Weili and John wasn't able to get made or whatever. Dude, it's weird. This card starts at 9 in the morning. Sorry. No, I lied. 5 in the morning.
That's gonna be nice because I'm up. I'm gonna be at the gym watching.
Yeah, 5 in the morning. I think Max finishes this. I think Max beats him easily. No offense to Korean Zombie, but he even has talked about how he's a little over the hill now. I don't think it's gonna move the needle for Max, dude. I don't think it's gonna do anything for him at featherweight, especially
too safe of a fight. Fight's too safe.
With how open that division is. Yeah, man. I don't know how to feel about that. Some other fights that got announced, Devon. Rafael Fazia versus Mateusz Gamrot headlining Fight Night card.
Yeah, that's a value. They both deserve the headline. They both, been Gamrot, the win over Dalen Turner, and then you got Fiziev coming off the loss over Gaethje. Which I must ask this because my phone's about to die, so we got to end the podcast soon. But what do you
Okay.
think is knockout of the year so far? Gaethje versus Poirier or the Sean O'Malley knockout?
Oh, Gaethje versus Poirier.
You still think
Gaethje versus
Gaethje versus
Poirier.
Poirier? I don't know. I
Gaethje
like
versus.
this one because it's super clean, but I don't know. The Gaethje one is still shocked the fuck out of me. It's still crazy.
Yeah, he was out cold. He was out cold after
Yeah,
that.
he was out cold too as well. So
Yeah. Let's wrap this
that's
up before your phone dies.
that's gonna do it for episode 24 of Glove Talk. Go follow us on IG at the Glove Talk Podcast. You know what? Fuck threads, bro. We're not gonna support threads, bro. Stop tweeting. We're gonna have you start live tweeting on Twitter, bro. Twitter's better. So whatever you're doing on threads, start doing it on Twitter, and I'm start doing more like these reels because I figured out a way for the AI to make cooler ones, and I'm gonna send them
Okay.
to you to post on Twitter. I'm gonna have you run the Twitter page. So we're gonna follow us on Twitter as well, and like the video, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time. It's Cody
Boys and
Kobe
girls,
episode,
remember, not every guillotine is tight. Not every submission is tight.
and not every is tight.